are preparing a question in your mind, I have a question. How you are feeling? Very simple question.
Oh, I'm feeling pretty stoked. Actually, before I just kept telling people I was scary excited, but I have to say this team just pulled it off. It was great, yeah. So, I don't know, it's just weird. It's taken a while to process.
All right. When we did the play read, someone actually asked you that why it is necessary to tell this kind of story or write something. I mean, as a playwright, as a writer, you could have actually written anything. Why this story? Why your personal story?
Well, I think part of that is probably Neil's fault. Neil's original brief was to write a story about, a true story about the Asian diaspora into Australia. And I mean, you know, for my Gujarati friends who are here, I thought about all of you and I thought about all the amazing stories. And then I actually went, well, my parents had a pretty amazing story as well. And it was one that I knew. And when I thought about it, it was a different story to all of others because they didn't migrate here. They came for 4 years and it just kept getting extended and extended and extended. And finally, when Dad was recalled, I think they made a very brave decision to stay here, one that I'm very grateful for. But it seems to me that I think stories are important, our stories that, where we come from, and for our children it's important for them to know the stories. And this one's close to my heart, and I actually Mum had done an interview which was on YouTube, so I could use her words, and Dad is writing his autobiography, so I could use his words, and I have my daughters, and I can't have me, so yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, thank you. Any questions ready? Or otherwise I'll keep going. Keep going, okay. Jules, how does it feel to take the draft version of this play, then fleshing it out, giving it a proper play form, and then take it to the stage and presenting the first show to a full house audience? How does it feel as a director and as a dramaturg?
Thank you for that question.
Simple question.
It feels really satisfying because I think this is kind of what my practice revolves around, which is growing new work by new voices, no matter who they are, across any sort of division or across from any kind of community. So growing new works is my bread and butter. So I take fresh scripts and we worked on this since about January or something like that. We did a workshop on it, and this iteration of the play, this sort of what you've just seen here is another part of its evolution, essentially, because theatre as a form is ever evolving, and it's live and it's exciting. So it seems I feel very privileged that you've come to see our work, Sonal's words, and the production team and the cast and the creative team's work. And I hope you've had a somewhat good time.
I'll extend on that question. Now, this is quite a different subject altogether. A very new subject for Australian stage. The play that Sonal actually wrote. There are a lot of cultural nuances there. Do you want to talk about that? I mean, how you got sort of grasp of those things, the meaning of it, the background. There are the stories behind. There are a lot of personal stories that Sonal and her family shared with us. Do you want to tell the audience about those experiences?
Sure. I mean, there's two answers to that. The first being that we're lucky that Sonal and her family have been so generous with their time and with their memories and with their emotions and their experiences. So we were able to sort of work with a wealth of material and a wealth of imagination, a wealth of lived true experience. So that sort of was that was very important for us to sort of pay attention to. And the second part of that answer is that I see myself as a shepherd of this play. I'm not a Gujarati Australian person. It's very, apologies, I'm Filipino Australian, so I do have, my family and their experiences have some intersection with the story and the themes of this play. But the way I would hope to shepherd any work is collaboratively, and to have the best voices in the room at any given moment. And I think I've definitely had the privilege to work with some really amazing voices, and I've learnt a lot in the process of making this, and that's all I can hope for, just to keep learning.
Okay, thank you. What you have been thinking, emotion, what was your emotion when you wrote that small piece about the curry leaves, the curry tree? That sums up the whole play. When the actor, Sonal on the stage says that even the tree was scared to die, and Vasant actually, this had a sort of ordered within the family that whatever you do not kill that tree. That is an amazing line. How you, it's a great metaphor, and sums up the whole play. What you have been thinking?
I didn't really think of it as a metaphor, but anyone who knows my mum knows she was really scary. And, when she said "don't kill the plant," she really meant "don't kill the plant." But yeah, I suppose part of it is it's trees are magical, and if it is a metaphor, then really it's a metaphor about don't kill our heritage, don't kill our stories. Let us all grow. Let us all grow in our own ways, and let us all embrace this country that we have. Oh, yeah, I was scared of Mum. Just like my children are very scared of me. I can say that, one's in the audience.
Any question from the audience? There is one hand raised at the corner.
My name's Sasha. I'm sort of left with more questions than answers in some ways. I'm curious about the absence of the Anglo husband in the play.
Good question.
And I'm also curious about the lack of content or substance, and it seems to have been a seamless kind of experience of the decision to marry a Gora. Because my first-hand experiences have, tell me, not just mine, but people I know who've married out, that it's actually a moment that is highly charged and quite difficult for many families, and that it isn't a seamless transition or acceptance, and so I'm left with some curiosity and questions.
Okay, so the reason, and this is the official version, the reason that my husband Chris is not in the play is because Brad Pitt wasn't available. Chris Hemsworth was not available to play him. So, but he's here. All I can say is I was incredibly lucky. I have parents who were very open-minded. So their background, they had a love marriage, and within their family, all their siblings had love marriages. And for Indians, we know it's important that you don't just marry an Indian, you marry someone from your own area. Well, none of them, I don't think, ever followed that rule. I grew up here, and Mum and Dad never expected me to go back to marry an Indian boy from India. I think Mum was getting letters, and Dad was kind of going, no, she's not doing that. But they embraced Chris from moment one. I think from Mum, once she got over the shock, which was like a split second of, you don't have to get married, she embraced Chris. His family were wonderful, so we had a traditional Western wedding, we had an Indian wedding, everyone did everything. We got, family here and friends who were there. I really have to say I was very lucky. There really was not a moment in time when, as far as I know, that either side didn't embrace our marriage.
Oh, there's another hand raised there.
I can speak.
Tegan,
Yeah, I can speak from here.
okay, yeah, sure, we can hear you.
My name is Rumi. I'm from Bangladesh. I just wonder that in Western Sydney University, there is, for undergrads, there is a course called Working with Community. Here we choose collective memories. This is a wonderful chemistry of collective memory and cohesion. Is the script available in any print form? So I can. I don't know. I just want.
Come and talk to me after the show.
Yeah.
I want to get rid of the typos, but...
Yeah, we can think about it. It's I don't see it's why it cannot be. Of course, we have to make a collective decision with the writer.
So far as I understood that this script is written for this specific group and the director presented it.
Yeah, true, but this play actually came out. It's an outcome of a play development project called Rama Sutra, where Nautanki Company actually thought there is a backstory to this play. We have been looking for the plays which really connects the South Asian diaspora.
Okay.
And there is literally nothing. There's no plot, no play, no stories. Homegrown stories. I'm talking about homegrown play, ever written. So this is the first time such a project actually was conceived and executed.
Okay.
And this play is outcome of that thought process. But having said, we as a company, we never actually had any agreement with the writer. There were two other writers and with Sonal as well, that this play is an exclusive property of the company. It's still the very much intellectual property of the writer.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we can discuss and come back to you on that if you're really interested. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
There's another hand raised there. Thanks, Tegan, for doing it.
My name is Uttam. This is not a question for you. It is just my thought about the curry leaves. We got a small plant, from my aunt, and she gave it to us, and we just planted in our yard. And that has grown so big. Whoever comes to our house, they say, hey, can we have the curry plant? My curry plant is really very generous. We grow it, and whenever they call us for a party, the family says, don't forget the curry plant, please bring me some. I'll tell you, some of the plays which you did here was similarity to my life too. My kids were very young, and they came, and they are totally Aussies. And so,
Sure.
we always have our discussions in this one, and we speak about our Indian culture. They are torn between both, but we make sure we balance it so well. We take them every year to India to show them what is our culture. That is how we balance our life.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
That's
Yeah.
all. I was really impressed by your show.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Oh, there's another hand raised.
It's all right, I can yell.
Yeah, sure.
I have a nice loud voice.
Yeah.
The temporal stuff, the shifting to telling the story in different times and so forth, was that part of the original scripting, or was it something that came out of the workshopping and developing the play?
It was very much part of the original script, yeah. Sonal has a fantastic taste in diverse playwriting, and that was definitely something that we developed and we continued to workshop, but it was 100% Sonal's brainchild, and I'm very happy to be its midwife.
raised. Another hand raised. Thanks, Tegan, for doing it. Thanks.
So I'm interested in the issue of language. So as an Australian born into an English-speaking family in an English-speaking country, it's never really an issue. But now as we travel more, we go overseas, and I'm often very envious of people who have more than one language. And I've got friends who have grown up in the 60s, 70s and 80s in Australia, friends who are Greek and who speak Greek and others who don't. But I'm just interested that the language is never passed down. Why? And I know it was explored a little bit in the play. What can you expand on that a little bit? And you know, what was the reasoning behind that? And I guess, you know, is it something would you prefer to have had the language?
So Mum and Dad, because we grew up here, even from the time we were small, they wanted us to assimilate. So they had very strong beliefs that we needed to speak the language. They were Jain, so they were vegetarian, but they had us eating meat. All things so that we could go into our friends' households and not be a burden on, you know, other mothers. They didn't really. I've got a few school friends here from very early days, and you know, a lot of mums didn't understand being vegetarian. So the language, I suppose, they used Gujarati when they didn't want us to understand, so we picked it up. You know, we had to learn by necessity, and I suppose they spoke enough that when I do go back to India, I mean, I understand it, although, I don't know, people who are here who are Gujarati probably say I don't at all. But I understand it, I don't speak it very well, but I think for them it was really just a question of giving us the language that we needed to use to communicate with here. And because they thought at the beginning we'd be going back after 4 years, I mean, I was only 18 months, so I would have picked up, you know, Gujarati as soon as I hit there, if we'd stayed. But also Mum and Dad, and I think this is a big difference between our story and the stories of maybe people who came from other countries in the 60s. So I've got a friend here again tonight whose parents have a similar story, but they came from Italy. Their English wasn't as good, but thank you to the Brits who were in India for such a long time. My parents were educated in English schools and English universities, so they came here speaking incredibly good English, and they spoke English, you know, between the two of them. So it really was, in a lot of ways, when we came here, it was our first language. And yeah, a little bit annoyed that they didn't speak Gujarati and didn't teach me more Gujarati, and it makes it difficult when we go back because I don't have that language. So I go in going thinking I should be able to communicate with everyone, and I look Indian, but I feel as much a foreigner, you know, and I think it's easier in a way for kids and for Radhika because she's white, so no one has any expectations on her about the Indian side. So yeah, it's always a bit of a challenge, but you know, it is what it is, so no regrets really.
One last question, and that's it. Sure.
There were occasional comments putting the political context to the audience with regard to the White Australia policy and Indira Gandhi's policies and so forth. They were just tastes to give us some political context. Were you tempted to push a bit more of an opinion there, or did you hold back on that?
Good question.
I will pass the mic to you. To me, the whole play has a political angle from start to finish. From a diasporic point of view, the whole play is actually political, and that is one of the reasons us choosing this play to take it to the stage. I strongly felt that there is a political message and a social message as well. But what he's asking is specifically, you know, he's talking about,
I had to put so much into such a short space of time. So that was a bit of an issue, but the political context was there, I think really for a lot of the, it's weird, because I thought it was there for a lot of the young people, and having said that, you know, the young people learned about the White Australia policy in school. I didn't, because I was living through it. So it was really only in starting to write the play and talking to Dad about how they were able to stay here and getting the permanent residency that I actually began to understand that aspect of it, and also what was happening in India. So then I did a bit of research on the internet and what was going on with Indira Gandhi So it was kind of like talking to Dad and realising that, you know, the stars aligned for them because there are issues in India, but because Australia was opening up as well, it just worked perfectly for them. I mean, you know, maybe sort of if it was 5 years earlier or 10 years later, it would have been much harder for them. So perfect timing.
And also, I mean, when this back and forth is going on, I mean, the family traveling between India and Australia, I suppose, the nationalization of the banks in India was kind of, that's happening, and that has a direct impact on Rushi's job and the decision of staying in which country they would actually end up leaving.
Yes.
So I suppose that is also one of the reasons that it
Dad
naturally.
wanted security and stability for his family, and I think he really saw that he wasn't going to be able to achieve it in India. And Mum was very independent, you know, highly educated, very independent woman, and she really wouldn't have been able to have the life that she wanted back there either. So yeah, lucky, but you know, they worked hard at it as well.
Okay, thank you. All right, that's it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.